What's
Guys,
up, everybody?
we have a very special guest today, the one and only, the current world's strongest man, the dragon himself, Martins Lisi. Thank you for joining me, my friend. How's things?
So, I'm really happy. I'm good. Just sad that there's of course people suffering from the pandemic and people losing their jobs, and that sucks.
This year has been absolutely diabolical, hasn't it, for so many people?
Just a real period in our lives, man. I just can't wrap my head around it. Just the whole world going through this craziness.
Yeah, I see you've been pretty busy with you were protesting at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. I absolutely was.
It's great. I think the strongman community as a whole is a very sort of friendly bunch of people. We sort of accept everyone from all walks of life, and it's nice. I think it's a great thing about sport anyway. We all compete damn hard against each other when we're on the battlefield, but afterwards we're all pretty good friends, and it's nice.
This shit hurts too much to have energy to be angry at each other. Right.
Definitely. After a competition, we've got no energy to hate each other.
No.
So what have you been up to? Obviously the lockdown has kind of destroyed everyone's year. No one's competing. Have you guys been training in the training hall?
I am so on a micro scale. For my life, I am so happy with the lockdown. It's really helped me. Bye, Omar. It's really helped me rehab. Because those competitions, like being pushed into competition after competition after competition, it's taken a huge toll on my body.
Yeah.
And just to be able to pull back and just focus purely on rehab, light lifting, it's so good.
Yeah, I've said that to a few people. I mean, now we have such a busy schedule, and the contests are so brutal. There's no let up in you don't get an easy contest anymore. There's so much strength in depth in strongman, and the events are so brutally heavy that your body just takes a beating week after week. And this break, I actually feel, has been good for certain athletes because like you say, you can recover from those injuries, and now you can start to maybe slowly build up towards hopefully defending your world's strongest man title.
Absolutely, I think this has been the best thing that's happened for my body. It really made me realize that all the competitions I've been doing, it's unrealistically too much.
It is. I've made that mistake before of competing way too much, and I suffered because of it. And you see a lot of the guys now, they have a few good years and then they start to decline because they do put their body through too much. But you've achieved the ultimate goal. Obviously, last year you became the world's strongest man. I want you to take yourself back to when you started, because you were actually quite a lightweight competitor, weren't you?
I used to weigh as much as a lightweight, but I still competed against the big guys.
Did you? That's a good attitude.
Really, I just wanted to be the strongest of the big. And
I love this attitude because you get so many people online saying, "Oh, there's body weight classes and stuff like that." I did a video recently about smaller guys competing at World's Strongest Man, and people, they can compete in their own weight classes. But when you are into this sport as much as we are, it doesn't matter about who's the biggest and who's the strongest at the lightest body weight. You just want to be the best.
You can get the weight. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how much your body weighs. Just the weight of the stone that's been lifted.
You've lifted some heavy stones.
My job.
Yes, it is. Do you kind of did you just write down your occupation, world's strongest man now?
I've done it. Yeah.
You got to start doing it.
I'm guilty. I've done it.
So take me back to the beginning when you got involved in lifting. How did it all start?
Well, I was a couch potato, loved playing video games, totally out of shape, was probably like 9 years old. And my dad one day, he loved lifting. He was like this tough Baltic guy, of course from Latvia. And he was like, "Okay, son, I've had enough. You can't watch this happen anymore." And he like dragged me into the gym. I freaking hated it. And but he like really pushed me to stay with it. And he said, "Okay, you can try it for a year. If after a year you don't like it, don't do it. We're gonna give this a go." So I did it for a year. Lo and behold, I got addicted. They only allowed 16 years and above in the gym that I went to, but they made an exception for me. So I was lifting in the gym at like 9, 10 years old, and by the time I was 13, I was already stronger than just about any adult in my school. All the teachers, I was stronger than all of them. And then I just started training people in my school and showing them how it's done. And from just that young age, I thought, you know what, I want to be, because I loved bodybuilding, I loved powerlifting, I loved Olympic weightlifting, and I'd go to my farm in Latvia where my grandfather was also he was a farmer and he's a stone sculptor. So he'd have all these stones laying around the farm. He'd show me how to lift them and move around to help him out. And then I saw on TV these guys basically doing farm work for competition. Do that. And then I just set out to become a strongman. From a young age, I thought I want to become the world's strongest man. And I fell in love with strongman because it incorporates all of that stuff. You need a base in bodybuilding, powerlifting, and some kind of Olympic weightlifting to really be good at this sport. I love it because it combines all of it.
Yeah, you've really got to be a great all-round athlete, haven't you? You get some guys, they're incredible bench pressers, but it doesn't mean they'll be a great strongman.
I love that about strongman.
Yeah. What's your favorite event?
Stones.
I love. And it goes back obviously to your grandfather's farm. You were picking up stones. So how old were you then when you were lifting these stones in the farm?
Around 10 years old.
Okay, so really young.
Yeah, I mean, there's stones, but rocks are rocks. It's all relevant.
It's primal. It's got that kind of. It takes us back to kind of the olden days, doesn't it? When you're testing your manhood to be able to lift stones back in Scotland and Iceland and those type of countries.
Everything, right?
Yeah.
It's a deadlift. Then it becomes a squat, and eventually, like if you have to put it up high enough on a platform, it's a press as well.
Yeah,
nothing goes unworked.
Oh, the stones that you guys did at the Arnold's this year, that looked brutal. Like you had to do everything.
Now I had serious nerve issues during that competition.
How's that now?
Much finally. The last 2 weeks since my nerves have been fucked since. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. Say anything you like here.
All right. It's been messed up since August. So I've just been trying to do everything to rehab it, but my neck's been in so much pain. My right lat has been shutting down in strength. My right tricep's been shutting down in strength. And by the time I got to Santa Monica, 2 weeks before that show, only 2 weeks out from that show, 2 or 3 weeks out from that show, I hit the weight for 1 rep. Wow. For that contest. I was barely able to get it. It was like this. And if you watch me doing the log press at Santa Monica, you'll see that each rep goes up like this. My right arm was just not keeping up. And by the time I got to Ohio, I mean, it was getting better, but I had to get a personal record on the dumbbell press with my left arm, my non-dominant arm, because the most I could do with my right arm was 240 pounds, which is 110 kilos, I believe.
Yeah.
Normally, I could do the full weight with my right arm, but I just couldn't. So I had to really get my left arm strong enough. And I finally hit the dumbbell press weight in Ohio with my left arm.
It's quite awkward doing it with your non-dominant arm as well, isn't it? For most people, I mean, you get a few guys that just can use both arms pretty well, but most of us favor that dominant arm. And I've almost got like a 20, 30 kilo difference between the two. Yeah. It's as much as it just feels completely wrong when I'm on my left arm.
It's so true. Yeah.
But you finished, was it second at the Arnold's this year?
Third.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a tough contest, you know. You get Thor coming in great shape. Kiliaskowski, that guy, I know you've had some great battles with him, but he is an unbelievable opposition for you, I guess. You're both similar in age, but you pipped him at the major show at the moment. Do you reckon you can keep him behind you?
That's the plan. I'm feeling a lot better. My nerve is finally like 95%, which is good enough. And by the time November comes around, I imagine I'll be back up to 100% with that nerve. So my pressing is going to be back up and probably better than ever. I'm aiming for better than ever. And my right hamstring has been an issue, but that's also getting better. So I'm going to do 2 more months of light controlled work to get the right hamstring to be back to full, and then hopefully I'll be stronger than ever by November.
Well, I believe you will. You're a very intelligent trainer, to be honest. I mean, I look at athletes. I quite like being able to sit back now and just analyze it and watch you guys. And you're an interesting one. You're very much like, say, someone like Adam Bishop. You really think about how to peak for a contest. You don't just try and be strong 365 days a year. You try and make sure on this day you're going to be in your absolute best shape, and you're very, very good at it. And you obviously think about how to structure your training and put it all together to make sure you do bring your best to the shows. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely a fair assessment, especially because I've taken a lot from Ode Haugen, my dad's training, and this other coach, it's a legend. Unfortunately, he passed away recently, Tom DeLong. It's a good friend of mine. And one of the things that Tom said that resonated with me, and I've been doing my entire life, is in training in general, it's important to learn the motion, then control the motion, then load it, and then explode it. So
you got to go through that process before you start.
Every competition, that's what I try to do. If there's something wrong with my technique, I'm going to learn how to fix it so it's just right. Then I'm going to control it so that way I have equal strength throughout the entire range of the motion, so there's no deficient angle in the motion. And then I'm going to load it, get heavier, and then I'm going to try to get faster. Yeah, and I followed that methodology through all my contests.
That's really smart. That's good. It's working extremely well because there's not many guys that train similar to yourself. You see, I mean, I watch some of let's take Kiliaskowski as a good example. The guy, just freakishly talented man.
Yes.
He's more old-fashioned, old-school type of training, I guess. Rocky Balboa out in the Russia training in the snow, that kind of.
Yeah. Whereas a little furnace this big to keep them warm. little wood pellets inside there, huddle around it to stay warm.
He is. I mean, I guess I'll ask you a question now. I was going to save it to a bit later, but because we've sort of gone off topic a bit, give me a couple of names that you feel are your biggest opposition right now. Because obviously you're the current champ. There's obviously we know like Thor and Brian, but is there a couple of names that you particularly think are your main opposition, or anyone that you think is coming through that you've seen? Because it's weird. I mean, when I was competing, I didn't really look behind me. You just sort of focus on who's ahead and what you need to do. But we've got a lot of good youngsters coming through right now.
Novikov is a potential contender, but it's interesting. When he's at his best, he's scary. But when he's hurt, he drops way down. Yeah. That's kind of what I've been seeing lately. He's been hurting, and that's pulled him way back. There's Charles Mitchell.
He's improving quickly.
If he is focused, yeah. I think he could be a world's strongest man contender. The thing is, I feel like he's so tame. He doesn't run his fastest when he could run so much faster. Like I've seen him in medley, he's kind of slowly jogging back to the weights. All it would take is him speeding up a little bit, and he would win that medley. Yeah. So that's a focus thing. I think he can really be up there. And then there's a couple of UK guys. I don't remember the names of them.
We got a few good youngsters over here right now.
Notice that there's some monsters coming up. I got my eyes on you guys.
We're trying to keep you on your toes. Yeah. But no, there really is some good guys. I mean, there's you'll find this. There's guys that just turn up from nowhere. You'll find some Russian guy will turn up one year and you've never heard of him, but they're damn strong and they're ready to compete.
That's crazy. Tom Stoll, the one. He's gotten so much stronger within the last year. That's scary as hell.
And he's got those freakish genetics. He's got that height, the wingspan, and now he's really started to slap some muscle onto his body. He's getting strong.
He took a swimmer and expanded him by 3.
Yeah, he's getting bigger and bigger and stronger, and his confidence is growing all the time. I think he and Luke Richardson, another guy you might not know too much about.
Yes.
He's
Yep.
exceptionally strong. They're probably the two guys we look at right now in the UK as our hope to challenge for the top spot of World's Strongest Man in the next few years.
Fair assessment, Luke. That's the one I was thinking.
So those guys are going to keep you on your toes. You've got to keep working hard to keep them behind you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Bring it on.
It's good. Well, take me back to your first strongman contest. We went off tangent a little bit, but I want to know about small Martins back when.
I was 15 years old. This was in New Hampshire. I was living in Massachusetts at the time.
Did you say you were 15?
I was 18.
18. Sorry.
18. This is New Hampshire, which is right next to Massachusetts. Drove up. I had no experience. I just wanted to compete. I wanted to find some guys. And I've been lifting. I was strong. I have never touched these implements other than stones. And I ended up getting second in my first little local. It was like a fair, Oktoberfest. I remember. I ended up taking second. I was very, very happy with that. After that, I drove out to California to start a new life because I love palm trees, the beach, the ladies out here. And of course, Owen Haugen is out here, and I wanted to get involved with the strongman community out here. Then I competed in California's Strongest Man. That was my first competition out in California. I think I was 20 years old or 21, and I ended up placing 6th in California's Strongest Man. That was kind of like a light bulb in my head. I'm like, okay, I'm meant for this. I can do this.
I think we all have that kind of moment, though, where we're sort of like, okay, I'm okay at this, and then you start believing I can be really good at this, and I'm going to start concentrating a bit harder.
It's like, and it kept rising like that.
Yeah. So when did you get to World? I remember your first Worlds. Was it one in Botswana?
That was my first World.
The first time in Botswana, wasn't it?
I saw you. I was totally starstruck.
You?
I won Europe's.
that seems like a lifetime ago now. It was good, but no, I remember seeing you in Botswana and thinking you just had a confidence about you. To be fair, a lot of first timer guys, they go into their shell and they're worried. You definitely had that aura about you that you believed you belonged there.
That is so interesting. Yeah, you're right. I never really thought about it that way. I guess I'm so excited. I was like, I've completed one of my big life goals. If I make it to Worlds, I mean, I want to be the world's strongest man, but if I make it to Worlds, that's at least that's done.
Yeah.
And being there was like life.
You made the final as well, didn't you?
6th place.
6th place in your first World's Strongest Man. That shows how talented you were. Not many people can say they've done that.
Oh man, that was surreal. And then it got more surreal.
Well, you're a very interesting character. You're completely different to most of the top strength athletes. I mean, you often just go traveling around, don't you? You're like the world's biggest student gap year. It's like you're on your gap year from university or something. Just traveling around the world, but also training hard to doing this side job, if you like, of being the world's strongest man.
Yeah, that's right. Always. Yeah, I definitely want to see the world and connect with as many people as possible. One of my biggest goals at this point is to help grow the sport.
Yeah, I think it's great. So there's a lot of us now that we're really passionate about making the sport get bigger and better, because I mean, it's better now than it was. But when I started, there was nothing. There was no money involved. There was no crowds, and to see where it's getting to now, and guys like yourself, Brian, Eddie, Thor, that have got getting bigger and bigger followings. The Stoltman brothers are kind of getting in there now. It's really good to see, and we've just got to keep pushing it.
Yeah, I love that. Freaking awesome time to be in this sport.
It is.
I hope that this year doesn't, slow us down, and that if anything, this helps us in some way. I don't know how, but I'm really hoping that next year looks better than ever.
I hope so. I think there's got to be good things that come from this, and like you said, you're feeling fresh. So from a personal point of view, you can get yourself back into your best shape. I know you've probably got a few more battles you want to have with Hafthor. Obviously, he's got his boxing match coming up, so he's not going to be competing at Worlds. How do you feel about that?
Breaks my heart. Of course, if you're getting paid, what he's getting paid for punching a dude in the face, you got to take that money.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I'm sad about it because I want to compete against Thor. I won't feel as complete if I win when Thor's not there.
Yeah. Do you think he'll come back to Strongman afterwards?
I hope so. I truly have no way to tell because this kind of came out of nowhere. Yeah. I never thought that he would not be competing in Worlds this year, and here we are. So I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it is sad. I mean, I like you say, fair play to the two guys. If we were getting paid that kind of money, they've both got children. It's providing for their family and that security. So I think from a friend's point of view, I totally get it. But from a fan's point of view, it's sad to lose someone like that from such a big show, and to see him competing against yourself and Kiliaskowski and the Stoltmans, and having that battle that we all want to see.
But my hope that if the world sees these two monsters, Eddie and Thor, go at it, like it'll help grow our sport. I really hope that. I mean, who's ever seen a fight like this? This is a one of a kind.
I'm excited for the build up to it. I really am. I think the build up to it is going to be great, and like you say, I just hope it brings fans to the sport.
I hope they make us proud. That's the thing. If they have this boxing match, they better be in good shape and make us proud and look good. If they're out slugging it, huffing and puffing, and just pass out 3 minutes in, that won't look good.
If Thor kind of passes out after 3 minutes, are you going to ring him up and take the mick out of him?
Oh man, I'm going to have to. Got to make us look good out there.
Definitely. Well, most strongmen have a quite. I mean, did you do any other sports, or was it always just lifting?
I loved wrestling. When I was really young, I did taekwondo. I did all sorts of sports when I was really young. But in my high school years, it was wrestling and American football.
Cool. Were you good at American football?
I was. I only played 1 year in high school. I was a freshman, and I was the only freshman on varsity, which is the upper levels of the team.
Yeah.
So I was good, but then I didn't want to do it anymore because it was just that kind of a bad attitude team. Everyone's kind of a bully. I didn't want to be around that energy. So then I put all my focus on wrestling and lifting.
Yeah. You've done, were you the world mass wrestling champion?
Oh, that's right. I did that too.
Yeah. You're just forgetting about world champ. This is how talented this man is. He wins world championships. He forgets about them. I hope you don't forget your world's strongest man win.
That's funny. Like that was a hobby.
Just a hobby. I just became world champion. Nothing.
Mass wrestling is a beautiful sport.
I'd like to try it. I've never ever tried it.
Very fun because you could. If there's someone stronger or bigger than you, you could still outwit them, outmaneuver them. There's options that you can take.
That's cool. I don't know anything about it, but I'm guessing having a strong grip and strong back would help.
It's huge. I mean, number one, I think, is having a strong deadlift and a strong grip.
Yeah,
that's not enough. Like I said, it's also about
it's
leverage.
Tactical.
Very, yeah. You could, because if you imagine you're doing a deadlift, but someone steps you to the side, and you're used to doing a deadlift straight on, and suddenly you're twisted to the side, your strength is going to shut down immediately. That's what the little guys tend to do. They'll sidestep you really quickly, and suddenly like, whoa, I'm in a weird position. All functions shut down because your body, you've been trained to do a deadlift in a certain way for so long that some slight variation and your strength's gone.
Yeah, I guess with strongman, powerlifting, those type of movements, weightlifting, you work in one plane, don't you? Whereas when you're fighting, you've got to react to different things, and the mass wrestling is the same. You've got that person having some control over what your next move is.
Exactly, and I think it helped my strongman too, because it got me used to being in such awkward positions from left to right that lifting stones or doing medleys, I was much more comfortable being slightly off in my pull.
No, that makes total sense, and it translates well to strongman because powerlifting and weightlifting, it's very much linear movements, whereas strongman we are moving, in many directions. You're twisting to pick up sacks or stones, and you're walking. Your hips are coming out of position. It's not as safe, I guess, as some of the other. I mean, they're all dangerous, but strongman probably rates as the highest in terms of most dangerous lifting sports.
I think so. Now, I would like to note to anybody watching this that so I think strongman is a great way to get strong and fit. It's only the upper levels where it's really dangerous in terms of injury. I think strongman training in general for health and strength. I wanted to see that grow to be in more gyms for even the older people to utilize our training methods to get strong. Just at much lighter weights, so you don't get hurt.
Yeah, well, you see so many gyms now with just loadable equipment, don't you? And
Yeah,
you can strip it right down to. Sometimes you see logs as light as 25 pounds, and they're great training tools for cardio conditioning. People, whether they're middle-aged women wanting to get in shape, athletes from different sports utilizing kind of tire flips, prowlers, all these things that we do at a bigger scale, but they're great training tools, and they make training fun.
that's my dream, just to make it accessible to everybody. When I first started training, the lightest log available was 210 pounds. That's what I had to start with my warm ups with.
I,
Now
I
we get those 25, 35-pound logs that anybody could really lift.
Yeah, I remember I went to a training yard when I first started out, and they had a yoke, and it weighed 700 pounds, and you couldn't make it any lighter.
That's, I remember Odd Haugen's farmers. He had those big, forgot what they used to be used in the company.
The anvils, or
They're like big cylinders. They're
I've
silver.
seen them. Yeah, yeah, I've seen them.
They're 260 pounds empty. And that's what the farmers we warmed up. They're awkward. They just smash against your legs and they're long and just they're impossible to control. They're the worst farmers I've ever used.
Uh, and Ode was notorious for putting heavy contests on, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. That's I. Yeah,
I think we've got him to blame for the weights in contests going up so much. I remember must have been 2006, 2007, 2008 kind of time. He was putting on some Super Series shows at the time, and they were always way heavier than World's Strongest Man.
that's right. Yeah, they truly are brutal.
You've done a few of his shows, I guess.
I won my pro card in one of his shows, actually, and this is an interesting story. You see, when I got to California, I wanted to compete. I didn't know any strongmen. I didn't know who to train with, so I just looked up on the internet a competition in strongman, and they looked, somewhere in Los Angeles area. The one I found was the LA Fitness Expo.
That's right.
The number Owen picked up. I did not know it was Owen. I just said, "Hey, I want to compete in your competition." And he asked me about how strong I am. I told him about my strength. He said, "Oh, okay, you're strong, but not quite strong enough." I'm like, "Well, I don't really care if I win or lose. I just want to meet people, network, so I can find somebody to train with."
Yeah.
"Oh, why don't you just say so? Come by my garage and we'll train." So he sent me the address. I went by his place, and the garage door opens. It's Odd Haugen, and I'm just starstruck. I'm like, "Holy shit, this is my hero!" And then we got to training. 1 year into training, I asked, like, "Hey, oh, could I compete in that competition now?" He's like, "Oh, no, you're not quite ready yet." 2 years later, "Oh, could I compete in your competition? It's 1/3 in California, strongest man. I think I'm ready." "Oh, you're not quite strong." 3 freaking years into training with this dude, he's like, "Okay, I think you can compete now." And finally, I compete in that ridiculously heavy LA Fitness Expo show, and I win it, and I get my pro card, and I got my invite to Giants Live Iceland.
Amazing. That's a good story. That is good. I love that he didn't let you compete. That's
Oh,
just.
son of a bitch! Like 3 years, 3 years.
But he made sure you were ready when you did compete.
He
So
did, yeah.
maybe he was looking out for you.
It was a blessing. I was a young, cocky, arrogant little guy just wanting to get in there, but he made me wait, and it was worth it.
Ode's he's a real great character. Really interesting guy. He's been so good in so many sports as well himself.
he's incredible. And of course, he's a legend in the sport because in his 50s, in his mid 50s, he like plays sixth in the world level. That's amazing.
He's still lifting big weights even now, isn't he?
Yeah, like I've seen him squatting up to 200 kilograms. He's up there. He's
How old is he now?
70.
Wow. He's still, I know his grip's always been phenomenal as well. He's a strong man.
Yeah, he is incredible.
Has having someone that's like him around you really helped your career? Do you think?
Yes. Being around Odd, I think has gotten me to where I am ultimately. He taught all of the strong movements, like little tricks and tips here and there. Every event I've ever trained for in Worlds, he's given me tips on and strategy for. He's been paramount to make me being successful.
It must have been nice to have him. You had him and your mum Worlds with you last year, didn't you?
And my dad. And it was Father's Day that I won World's Strongest Man.
Really?
That was just unreal.
That's amazing. That must have been a good feeling.
Yeah, that was an amazing feeling. The timing is just the coincidence of that is unreal.
It seems like you've got a really good, close team around you that kind of, you all work well together.
Yeah, I really do. I'm so lucky with the people that I have. Romark has been a huge help. He pushed me to doing this YouTube series. I was reluctant in the beginning because it just seemed like a hassle, but he really put in the work and made it happen. And so much has come from that. Just game show opportunities, flying around the world, sponsorships. And now we're going to be putting together a gym here in Santa Monica. We've got a bunch of rogue equipment. We're just going to fill up the garage space right here with all this rogue equipment. Just do mostly just training for ourselves here, and then if some interest catches on, we'll try to open up a bigger space.
Awesome. We keep him busy then.
Yes. And then on the weekend, we're still going to the training hall because I want to still help support where we come from.
So you're no longer sweeping the floor at the training hall? Well,
No.
You had to become the world's strongest man to get past that.
I went through like multiple finals. It's only when I won Worlds that I was finally relieved of that duty.
That's when.
Well, could you still make it once a month?
It's good. It's keeping you grounded. I love it. No, you're doing really fantastic, and you're doing great things for the sport as well. I mean, your channel's awesome. I love watching your videos. You're a very entertaining guy. So, you've done a brilliant job. I wanted to ask you while we've got you. You've won World's Strongest Man. So, what's the next goal? Like, do you have an ultimate goal? Do you sort of look at Mariusz Pudzianowski's like 5 titles? Have you got those like big aspirations to be one of the greatest ever, or is just winning one Worlds enough?
I want to be one of the greatest ever. I don't really care too much about 5 titles. I want at least one more. Yeah. There's the ring to multiple-time World's Strongest Man in my head. So I want one more title. I want to win the Arnold, and I would love to win Dubai as well. So I want the 3 big shows.
Yeah. It's great that we have 3 big shows these days. I mean, the Arnolds came along, and then the guys at WUS started putting some money into it and big shows. The sport's getting bigger. It really is.
Really awesome. And I also want to get some more world records. I want to beat the stone record, and I want to beat a log record. I think those 2 are the staples of strongman, and I'll be damned if I don't gun for at least one of those.
Do you reckon you can keep up with Tom on the stones?
Oh, he looks good, but I've been pretty good myself.
You have. You're an exceptional stone lifter. I mean, I look at you as a great athlete. Like I said before, I think you're smart, and I think you will make sure you're quick with whatever the set of stones are. So, like, that was always my philosophy when I was competing. I was like, it doesn't matter if I can't do a 300 kilo stone, for instance. I just need to be able to do this set of stones as fast as possible. Same with the yoke. If it was a 400 kilo yoke in a comp, I'd make sure I was fast with that. It doesn't matter that you can't do 600. It was about being as good in the whole contest. But now guys are looking at records a lot more. So you're keen on breaking the records as well.
Yeah, because I think that's one of those things that puts you up there with the greats.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you bring up like speed in stones, because one thing I've noticed is you could lose 1 or 2 seconds in a lift of the actual stone, but a lot of guys lose several seconds in transitioning from stone to stone. So one thing I practice is actually my steps and my body positioning, where I will practice like lifting a stone and immediately just like be very precise with taking maximum 2 steps to get to that next stone. And the moment my foot hits the ground by that next stone, my hand's on it. So I really try to practice that transition, because you could, even if you're slower at the lifts, you could save a lot of time with just that transition between implements. I think that's what really nailed it at Worlds this last year.
Definitely, because you're not one of the biggest guys by any means. You know, you're not a small man, but you're not a giant. But you've really thought about every little area, and I really respect that about you. And it's something I always look for when I'm looking at athletes. I always respected Derek Poundstone, because he looked like he really had a game plan with his contests. Even like when he did the dumbbell, he'd always put it down in the same position. He wasn't just dropping it. He'd think about everything, and you seem very similar to that.
Love that. Yeah, I really respect athletes like that.
Yeah, it's even in fighting and stuff like that. I've always just kind of I like that intelligent side of competition, because it's not always about just being the biggest brute. You know, if you might find people can squat more than you for 1 rep, but when you were training for the squat of World's Strongest Man, you prepared yourself well, and you went and won that event.
I've literally never tested my 1 rep max in squat.
Do you know what? Neither have I. I've always, well, in strongman we never do squat for max.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've never ever. I've competed probably over 250 times. I've never had to do a squat for max in a strongman contest.
That's right. Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of high rep squats, as I know you are. And I think for strongman, they're very beneficial, because you develop that endurance in the legs that you need for a full day's contest. Whereas in powerlifting, there's no point in doing a 20 rep squat, because you're never going to have to do it for 1 rep max.
So true. Yep.
It's just thinking about the sport that you're in. I think sometimes is important.
You got to. Yeah. I've even gone so far as thinking about front squats as being an aid to like stone lifting. So like some days I would mix front squats and stones in one day, and I figured I don't need to get super heavy in front squats. If I could be very efficient and effective with just 500 pounds, that's the most I'll ever need. So if I have a good work capacity with a 500-pound front squat, doesn't matter how heavy the stone series is, all the stones be 500 pounds. If I could do many reps with a 500-pound front squat, I could do all the stones. That's kind of how I've thought about those kind of things. So yeah, it's absolutely never push too much weight on the squats unless I really need to get ready for a contest that has a heavy squat.
Yeah, it's maybe back when the Arnolds was exceptionally heavy and they were doing those heavy yokes, you might want that extra leg power. But there's not many contests where you need to be squatting, over 800 pounds.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like you say, there's a lot more. The endurance side of it is more. But this deadlift's a bit different, because there's always a deadlift for max in strongman. But
especially these days, I think Eddie did.
Do you fancy the deadlift record?
I do fancy it. I want to get my deadlift up there, but to me, it's not a staple of strongman. It's a great lift, but it doesn't compare to a stone or log in my mind, because there just simply aren't any barbells in nature.
Oh, that's true. So you want the log record and the stone record?
I think those are the two strongman records that matter.
What's the heaviest stone you've lifted?
Let's see. I did a 510-pound stone of steel. That was several years ago, and not without tacky. It was just the tacky towels. It was over 56 inches, so higher than what's required for the record. And I haven't tried heavy other than I tried against Brian. I tried the world record stone, but that was with totally shut off right arm because I was going through nerve damage. I mean, that was during the competition where I couldn't even lift my arm past this point because my nerve was just fucked. That was a few years ago. But with a healthy body, I've not touched a heavy stone since then.
Okay.
I'm curious because I don't have access to one. The heaviest stone I have to work.
Yeah, I guess that's the issue with the stones is where do you find the really heavy ones? I,
Yes.
I was talking to someone else and I was saying I'd love to see Thor, Brian, and Tom go head to head on the stones. But thinking about it, I'd like to see yourself and Kiliaskowski in that kind of battle as well. Just to the five of you going for either a really heavy stone for reps or let's see how much can be done on the stones. Is 700 pounds possible?
Gosh.
Do you reckon that's possible? Because that's the kind of numbers Tom's talking about.
I think Tom's a little closer to his peak than people realize. I mean, maybe if within a few years, yeah, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's totally possible, and I think Tom can do it. He's not there now. I mean, I saw his stone lift. It was a lot of people say it's easy.
But it was slowing down. You could see it was. I mean, for the weight of the stone, I thought it was impressive. I thought it was an exceptional lift. But I understand how much 10 kilos makes a difference.
Exactly, and like that slowdown. I mean, from an inexperienced eye, that could look like, oh, that was easy, but because that slowdown was so subtle, but it's there.
Yeah.
And add 10 kilos to that, and with 600-pound stone, it's hard to grind such a heavy weight, I think. But who knows? I don't know. I could be wrong completely. I'm not going to say I know everything. Tom might be.
I think. Look, I've been in the past of sort of questioned whether people were capable of some of the things that they've said, and people have proved me wrong. And now I don't put limits. You know, these guys are just getting better and better. I've seen how much the sport has progressed in my time during it. So I think it's a great debate, but I'm quite happy to just sit back and watch you guys battle it out now.
Fantastic. Oh, bring it on. I'm excited. I want to get that record. I'm coming for Tom.
I'm going to tell him. I'm telling him that Martins is coming for him.
Oh, don't tell him.
Okay, we'll just keep it quiet between us, shall we? No, brilliant. So next for you is World's Strongest Man. Hopefully, have they confirmed it yet? Have you been like officially invited or?
That's a good question. I need to check my emails.
Okay, because obviously that's the issue we've all got this year with the COVID situation is until we know exactly what's happening, it's hard to then sort your training to peak, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing with what's happening in the world. I think it's just impossible to really tell what's going to happen by November. I would imagine because everything's opening up, and I think everyone's saying "fuck it," and it doesn't matter. At this point, we got to live our lives regardless of the danger. Yeah, I imagine we'll at least have a World's Strongest Man, but maybe no audience will be allowed there.
World's Strongest Man is easier to do behind closed doors anyway.
I think so. I think, yeah.
World's Strongest Man is very much a TV show. So I think I've done plenty of World's Strongest Man where there's about 20 people watching. Whereas, I mean, you've been over here for the arena shows. That's an issue.
My favorite.
They're the best, aren't they?
Guys run the best shows. Period. You guys absolutely.
That is Darren and Colin run the shows. He's got a very good team, but it's what makes it is that I think the British fans are amazing.
I want to see that in the rest of the world. What you guys are doing should absolutely be done elsewhere too. It's awesome.
Hopefully we'll see it grow and grow. I mean, have you noticed the sport growing in the States?
Yeah, it's definitely growing in the States. Yeah.
Do you get recognized quite a bit now over there?
I do. Yeah, almost any day I go out on the beach, I'll hear more dudes.
Excellent. That's good to hear because I know guys in the past that have won World's Strongest Man and no one knows who they are. So to see the way the sport's grown, it's good. And I know the US being such a big country, and obviously you've got like American football, you've got basketball. There's big sports that take precedence. But it's good to see strongman starting to sort of chip away, and you guys are getting that recognition now.
It's awesome. We have a long way to go, but it's happening.
Yeah. Well, it's guys like yourself, Thor, Eddie, all of you guys have really raised the level of the sport, and I've enjoyed being able to compete against you. We've had a couple of good battles, and just seeing the way you progressed, it's been fantastic. And I'm going to enjoy watching you battle against these guys for hopefully many more years to come.
Thank you, Oz. I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you for coming on, Martin. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. I will hopefully at some point come over, train in your gym. We'll do some. I might be able to push you on grip for now. That'll be about it. You kind of. I'm stepping back from competing now, but I still love a bit of grip training.
I doubt those legs have gotten slow, Lars. I'm not fooled.
I don't know. I'll come over and show you how to do some yoke and farmers.
I need that. Yeah, I need that.
You're pretty damn good, mate. You're doing absolutely incredible.
Anyway, still got to catch up.
Look after yourself. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you guys soon.
Thank you, my man.
Take care.